Hi, everybody. We're back today with another episode of Howie's Hometown Heroes, where we feature business owners, entrepreneurs, and community members who are doing extraordinary, amazing things right there in their own neighborhood or around the world, like we're going to find out in a few minutes from Shireen Botha. Shireen is my good friend. Shireen is from Kingsborough, South Africa. That's where she is right now, this second, but she's on the move constantly. But so, which is really part of the fun story that we're going to talk about. So let me tell you a little about what her background a little bit, and we'll dig into it, as we move forward. Um, she grew up in South Africa, and that's kind of where she is, and had a 13-year career as a flight attendant, flying around the world, doing all kinds of stuff. So great career. And she even says, when you pick a career when you're a kid, that's it. You're it forever, right? But sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. So we'll hear about the pandemic and how that messed them up, but it became that epiphany moment of moving forward to being a bookkeeper. And we'll talk about where that came from, where that's going, all that kind of good stuff. So welcome, Shireen. This is really going to be an awesome conversation. I know when the first time we talked, I'm fascinated by people's stories and travel and all that kind of good stuff. So tell us another fun fact about what you do.
Right, my business
No,
is
your fun fact for you that we would say, oh my gosh, Shireen, no way.
oh my goodness. What I would say a fun fact is probably my normal everyday stuff. I'm not sure if it'll be very interesting to you, but um I did the Camino Santiago, 7 days, walked up to about 250 Ks, which is about 25 Ks to 27 Ks a day.
Can you
I haven't
translate that
come.
to miles for our American audience?
Ooh, that's a good one. Should I Google that quickly?
If you can.
How much is 25 Ks to miles? That's what it is, roughly. The one day we did about 29. It's 15.5 miles.
15 miles a day walking. That's
Yeah, and yeah, one of it goes all over the place. So sometimes it went up to 29 Ks,
Ooh.
and then it can go down to about 22 Ks, but never less than that. It's a historical route that the pilgrims used to take to travel from one country town to the next. So it goes from France and you walk through France through to Spain. There's a numerous amount of them. So you can pick from all the different pilgrimage routes. I just chose the Camino Santiago starting at the borders of France, and that's where I decided my track was going to be, which took me into Spain.
Cool.
And I love that. Again, I'm not sure if that's a fun fact,
Well,
but
it's fun for people who don't know about it, that's for sure. And how long did the whole trip take?
it can take up to a month and a
A
half.
month and a half. So people got to be
It
dedicated to this for. Oh yeah.
Right. And it really depends on how you want to do it. I've got to be honest. Like, if you want to stay 2 nights in a little town, you can, and then
Oh,
continue walking on the third day, you can do that. So
it's
it might take you longer depending on how, stretched out you want to make it. Some people end up taking 6 months,
okay.
to do a really big part of it, but also to do it at their own pace.
Pace. It's not so. It's clearly it's not a race. And you can do a little bit now and come back in 6 months and do a little bit more and come back. Right. Totally
Right. And then
self-directed.
sorry to interrupt you, Howie. I met this little Scottish lady. She was she was well into her age. I know she was quite a bit older than me. And I stopped to have a little snack break and I was just sitting on the grass, just looking at the edge of, this valley. and it was a beautiful view, and it was just a random stop. And this little Scottish lady stopped and she asked if she could sit with me for a bit. So I said, yeah, sure. So a random stranger sat down next to me and we got talking over an apple and a croissant, something silly like that. And we started chatting. And shame, she was saying how it was, I'm not sure how far in her trip it was, but her one leg started giving her issues.
Oh,
And so she ended up staying at one of the little towns for about 3 or 4 nights just to recover and get that muscle, back to not 100%, but to the point where she can go back to walking 25 Ks a day. You know what I mean? Um, and uh, and then she carried on. So honestly, you really, back to my point, you do it at your own pace.
yeah,
And it's literally, you're not only walking that 25 Ks from one little historical town to the next, but when you get to that town, Howie, you don't just want to put your bags down in the albergue hostel and just sleep. You want to go explore the
sure,
town, and
sure.
you have the beautiful old cities where you like walk across the old drawbridge that used to be the castle entrance. And you've got there's so much to see and your mind is blown. So you're not just walking 25 Ks a day. You could be walking 30 something Ks, depending on how much exploring of the little
Down
town.
to,
That-
oh, there you go. Right, exactly that.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
and a lot of that is really the draw is not is not the walking, it's the experiences along the way and the people that you meet along the way enrich the entire experience, right? And there you
Oh
go.
my gosh, yeah, I bumped into a older lady with a little Scottish dog sitting outside of a church. And I was walking into now, granted, these churches are so beautifully
Oh, I'm sure.
designed and
Yeah.
so old. And I'm walking into this church because I absolutely love looking at the different little churches. And she was sitting on the little cobblestone step next to the well where we fill up with water. And I just, I said hello to her. I don't know how the conversation started. Oh, of course, it started over the dog. I'm an animal lover. And I think I said something along the lines of, oh, what a
A
cute
cute
little
dog.
doggy. And we got talking. And the next thing, she started crying. And like there was obviously a lot going on in this lady's life. And she just kind of opened up and started spilling, and I sat next to her and we chatted for a bit. And at the end of that, I gave her a hug and she said, well, I hope to see you again along the path. And I said, well, me too, but if I don't, it was lovely meeting you. And that was it. That was one of the
That was the
experiences.
but there's an experience and there's like I don't want to say every hour, but frequently those kinds of
All the time.
experiences that happen that really enrich the entire thing for everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Very-
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
It
very
was
cool,
so
very cool.
awesome.
Well, very good. Well, there's an awesome, it's a great story, which really talks a lot about you as you and moving forward and getting all the experiences you can, and in whatever
Mhm.
limited times we all have here. Right? That's the whole thing of traveling. We'll get more into that in a
Yeah.
little while too. But let's kind of dig in a little bit. So you grew up in South Africa. What was that experience like? Um, was it schooling? Like what was going on in your head? And is that how you became a flight attendant? How did all that come about?
That's such an interesting story, Howie. Um, I think when someone asks me about my upbringing, I think it's like any other person in the world, it's all I know. So it's like
Okay.
typical upbringing, went to
Okay.
school, but
Nothing exotic.
I suppose when you go deeper into it, like many times, we do, as when I speak to some of my friends, and when we do share, I think a lot of the times they kind of look at me with a little raised eyebrow because it's quite interesting the differences between growing up in the US to growing up in South Africa.
Mhm.
But I suppose I grew up and I think I had a pretty good, it was,
Okay.
medium level income family, brother, sister that's 10 and 11 years older. So I didn't really grow up with them. They're already out the house when
Uh,
I started remembering things. My mom and dad still married today, elderly folk. Um, and no, no, it's when I left school, um, I think the pressure was a lot for me of what to become. And when I grew up, the whole impression and expectation that I got was you pick your career, you go study for that career, you get that job that you studied for, you get married, you buy the house, you get the car, you grow old, you retire, and that's the end of
yep.
that.
Yep.
And so Um, when I finished school, I had no clue what I wanted to do, and there was a lot of pressure from outside family members, and close relatives of what I should do because I wasn't sure. So, because I wasn't sure, everyone had opinions. And so I made the decision initially to try and study a certain subject. I didn't really enjoy it. I went into arts college, got my teachers in dance and drama, but then that wasn't something that I wanted to do. Um, from previously, accounting was one subject that I've always had behind me. It's always something that
Hmm.
I've passed with flying colors. Numbers have always been a common denominator. And then I went and finished that. I went overseas and did camp counseling, au pairing, any
Ah,
reason to get out of the country into the other country just to travel. And that is always also been a part of me that's never changed,
hmm.
never, ever, ever. And when I tasted a little bit of the US, I fell in love and I grew a lot of my network, which is there in the US. Um, my little adoptive family, they're not really my adoptive family, but when I went there, but for au pairing and camp counseling, I met them through a camp counselor friend of
Hmm.
mine, and they kind of adopted me. So they
Oh,
will always be my adoptive family. And right. And then the aviation was something I just sprang into. I just thought, hey, that makes sense. I love traveling, and I also love people. But now I've learned a lot about myself. It's not that I don't love people anymore, but I find people are harder to figure out than numbers. And so hence I love numbers.
there you go. That's for sure, boy.
So, yeah, I went into aviation for a good part of my life. I did bookkeeping as a side hustle um, for businesses, and then the pandemic hit, and that company now has closed their doors. A lot of people lost their jobs, including myself, where I had to make a big decision halfway through my life of what I
Mm,
was going to do. And I realized that I do not want to work for somebody else ever
there you go.
again. And so that's when I became a business owner.
There you go.
And I'm now a virtual boutique bookkeeping business, which is based in California. That's where everything is. My clientele, my network, everything is there. But the whole point was not to stay there, but to continue my lifestyle of what I've always wanted, which was to travel from one place to another, living out of my little backpack. And that's life for me.
There you go. I mean, what an awesome lead in to all the other things. I mean, that is the idea that you were flexible enough, maybe forced into doing what you ultimately or ended up doing. But I think it's great that you had that theme of travel and numbers kind of flow through each of those stages. And you're not done yet. I mean, you got plenty of time to go. Who knows what's going to
Yeah.
happen next? I think
Right.
it's also great that you call your business is in California, even though you're physically not there very
Well, not
much.
in.
I assume you go maybe once in a while, but the,
Well, yeah, well, regularly there, and
okay.
then that kind of just dwindled a bit because I do have so much to do and so
Right.
many bucket list ticks that
Yeah,
I do.
yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. That's great. So that's very cool the way you kind of put your life together forcibly. If even
Mhm.
if the pandemic didn't happen, do you think you'd still be a flight attendant, or would that have
You know what? I think it would have been something else
something
that
else?
would have
Something
brought
I was
me
just
out.
gonna, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, probably,
Because for a long time, I could feel that that space wasn't for me anymore. For a long
yeah.
time,
You,
I sat in that
yep.
space, also knowing that it wasn't for me. But the pressure of having to stick with your career for the rest of your life was there and was very predominant. And so,
Hmm.
but I do believe if it wasn't for the pandemic, something else would have pushed
Something
me
would have
out.
pushed you. And I think
Mhm.
that happens to a lot of people where you realize, okay, it's time for me to move on or whatever it is. It happened to me a couple of times too.
Mhm.
But you do what you think is the right thing to do at the time and
Of
move
course.
forward and don't look back. You can't shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, kind of stuff too. Um,
Yeah.
and was there any challenge for you once the pandemic happened, you realized I got to do something different. Um, you decided, okay, we're going to do, you've already had the bookkeeping going on anyways. Let's just expand that. Was there any challenges to make that actually a real live
Oh
living
yeah.
thing? Yeah. What kind of
Oh,
problems and
oh,
issues did you
yeah.
have? Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's the biggest risk to go, okay, if I'm going to risk it all and become a business owner, not only am I going to do that, but I'm actually going to start my business in a whole, different country that I
Yeah.
love, that I've been in and out of,
Yep.
and just
Yep.
made sense to me. Um, but doing it by yourself is quite scary, and it has many times ups and downs, and failure is a real thing, and imposter syndrome is a real thing. And
Mhm.
it constantly gnaws at you. What if I fail? What if I lose everything?
Mhm.
What if I can't make this happen? Um, and there's many times when I actually thought, oh, I can't do this. And if it wasn't for those mentors that I had that had been business owners for many years, that had talked me off the ledge. And I'm not saying physically talked me off the
Yeah,
ledge,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just for that decision, I wouldn't be here as a business owner. And so I'm very grateful for them. And I'm very glad that I pushed through and have kept going. I'm not saying tomorrow is guaranteed. Like I was saying to you earlier, I am very blessed with the clientele that I have that have trusted me with their books. Uh, but 24 hours, who knows what will happen? And I
Mhm.
could lose everything and start from scratch all over again. So every day I'm very grateful for the business that I have. Um, and yeah.
Okay, so great. I mean, I think that's a great attitude to have to be say first number one, having mentors. There's a good lesson for everybody, right? You got to people you can rely on that you can trust that are looking out for you,
Right.
right? In addition to whatever they're doing for themselves, but looking out for you in your best interest. That you can rely on. That's really awesome too. But then also the attitude about tomorrow is not guaranteed. You learn that, I don't want to say the hard way, but I like a lot of people learn that like all within a week. Like now what are we going to do? Um, but you had at least something to fall back on. Great, but that could happen again tomorrow, right?
Right.
Anything happen, and to have that attitude of, I did this once. I did. I created a business out of nothing once. You can do it again, right? If you did it once, you can do it again, and then
Mhm.
there's a great way to great kind of look at that. Um, wait a minute, we'll cut this part out. Let me get another drink. All right. Um, Oh, let me just say, is there anything in your schooling or background or from South Africa that led you to that fascination or being able to be really good with numbers and bookkeeping and that sort of thing?
Well, it started there, and numbers have always been something that I've always been good at. School, after school,
Hmm.
college, university,
Hmm.
that was has always been the common denominator. And when I did my education in the US to, learn about the bookkeeping and how everything works in the US, and their federal and state tax laws and all of that, I'm I'm naturally, and I'm not trying to boast, but I caught on pretty fast.
Good.
And the more I spent in that space, the more I learned and consumed and yeah, and grew into the person that I am now.
Hmm. 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 So you think of that as for you, that's I don't want to say it was easy, but it was something that kind of worked for you, that all those that concept. For a lot of people, the people I talk to, for sure, when you start going down that path, their eyes glaze over, the tune out. It's just like an unbelievable thing. They just turn off. So that's great that you figured that out and found a way to actually make some money doing it too at the same time. So that's good.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's currently what's your kind do you have a day-to-day routine that you go through with your clients or the traveling or what's going on in your life now and business
So
wise?
again, I said to you, my numbers has always been good for me, but the other common denominator is the traveling. The
Yep.
other common denominator is nature. And I've always been that person that's constantly been outdoors and in nature. And so for me to be able to give myself that lifestyle where I can just backpack through life,
Yeah.
uh, I had to be a business owner and I had to do something where I could look after my clients from anywhere in the world as long as I had a laptop and internet. And
Yep.
I've done exactly that. And I'm so grateful because I just have to take this laptop and make sure that I have network in anywhere I stop, wherever I am in the world. And that's how I look after my clients. And I have my diary, my schedule. I set out each client. I donate about a couple of hours every day to make sure that each client's books are accurate, up to
Hmm.
date.
Hmm.
Any queries, any meetings I set with my clients, that's all being put in my schedule. So
Hmm.
normally what happens is I will create my travel days. I will work in all the outside stuff around that. So let me give you an example because we were busy talking about the Camino.
Yeah.
So I would wake up before the sun rose, dedicate a few hours to one of my clients' books, pack my backpack, put everything in my backpack, put on my back, and off I went, 25 Ks. Dun, 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 dun. Um, Stopped at a little town I was walking through, sat somewhere where there was Wi-Fi, and I connected to that Wi-Fi with, all my security that I have on my laptop,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and spent another 2 hours on another client's book or query or whatever it is. Then closed my laptop, put it in my backpack, and off I went.
Off it went the next. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I got to my destination, I would spend some time, on my bed, quickly doing some bookkeeping stuff, and then I would go explore. So it, you know, I centered everything around that to make sure that I balanced everything out.
Yep. So I mean, that's a great way to look at that because you balance. There are people, and I'm like almost one of them, where your business is in your head like 24/7 and it hard to turn off. I know a lot of people like that. Uh, and they burn out after a while and then realize, I didn't spend as much time with my kids as I should have or anything like that. But you've managed and it's great that you've figured it out while you're relatively young that you can blend it all together. It takes a little work and a
Mhm.
little technology and a little whatever, but you can put all those pieces together and everybody's happy. And the clients have, maybe the clients know where you are, maybe they don't, but they don't care as long as you get the job done for them. What are they, right? Doesn't really matter.
Right,
Doesn't really
right.
matter.
And yeah, I've had no complaints. Things have been working out perfectly. And even those days where I know I'm entering in a no network zone, which is
Yeah,
possible, it happens all the time.
yeah,
Then
sure.
I make sure that I do my work outside of that and make sure that's done because when I go into the black zone, I know I won't be able to speak to anyone until I'm out of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I rearrange everything around that too. So,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so far it's worked like a charm.
All right. So far. Do you have an experience where maybe it didn't work out? Not that anybody was upset at you, but where, ooh, you thought you thought there was gonna be Wi-Fi and there isn't, and anything to work out like that?
You know what? I really also have some really great clients. If as soon as I see something's not working out the way I'd like it to, I send a quick email, quick message. I tell them exactly full transparency, just a heads up, going to an area where I probably won't be able to get some contact with you. My responses might be a little bit slow, but as soon as I'm back on track, I'll get back to you. And they're quite happy.
With
They're
that, yeah.
like, thank you for letting us know, Shireen, all
That's all.
good. You know,
Also, like any other good customer service, just keep the clients in the loop of what's going to happen, and that
that's
most of
the
the time they're
important
fine.
part.
And as long as you get
Yes.
the deadlines done, or tax preparers, or whatever, whatever you kind of get, whatever output you need to do, as long as it's done in a timely way, then you're good.
Right.
Okay. I'm glad it happens
It's okay.
in between things. So hold on a minute. Let me get water over here. Okay. All right. Let me
Mhm.
settle in here now. Um. Oh, this is one thing we didn't talk about. All right. Let's move. Where do you? Let me just start. Let me just think about how I want to ask this question. All right. So let me just start off here. So that's a great way that you've created your lifestyle around your business, and everything's going to flows together. Really good.
Mhm.
What's coming up
Right.
next? What's coming up next for you? What's the next bucket list, or like dozens of buckets that you're filling up? Or
Right, constantly traveling. Just got back. I went up into the mountains and we found some snow. Had a great adventure where we slept in a cave and then didn't think we were gonna get out of it the next
oh,
day. But yeah, so I'm leaving again tomorrow. One of my bigger trips is happening in the new year because obviously it's Christmas time, and my elderly folk live here, and my sister still live in South Africa, so spending some time with them. But one of my bigger trips is going up into Namibia and then all the way up to the top, coming around and then coming back through Mozambique.
that's like circumnavigating Africa there. Huh? Wow.
Like a full circle.
A full circle.
There's yes, there's lots of different other things that I want to try. There's quite a few people that have overlanded from Cape Town all the way to Spain or all the way to um I forgot the to a different continent.
Into Europe.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I want to do that. I think that's exciting.
sure.
Granted, I'm doing all this by myself, and I think there's a lot of people that would be, I've got to just be safe. It's just me as a single woman. So
Yeah, yeah. I was
those are all concerns that I just got to make sure my security is right. Everything, the routes that I choose are the safest routes. I've got fantastic tech that show me the best camping spots to stop at. So as long as I'm wise in choosing my routes, I should
Yeah,
be
that's actually what I was
good.
thinking of is safety. You would to get into Spain and Northern Europe or even Scandinavia,
Right, you
right? Has
can.
right. I mean, there's a lot of dangerous places to get through to get there. So we want to stay safe in whatever way you can. That's a great way to
Right.
look at that.
Oh, yeah,
So,
for sure.
so yeah, so that sounds like fun. How? So tell us about though the Friends of from Wild Places podcast that you do. What's that about?
Okay, so Friends from Our Place is a podcast that I started around the same time I became a business owner. It's really that very thing that I spoke to you about, where I just found that being a business owner can be extremely lonely sometimes. And I feel if we all come together as business owners and entrepreneurs and share some of our struggles and what we've been through and how we got over those struggles, I think it's a nice safe space for all of us to just be open and share what we've been through. So I started it obviously just me, and then about a year into it, I got Tanya, who is my co-host. She lives in Miami. And we do these things together now, these episodes that comes out 3 times a month, where we have guests on and we chat to each guest. We just had one now that's busy coming out with a hypnotist
Ooh.
who also, I mean, generally our focus, our market is, you know, business owners and entrepreneurs that have changed career later on in life.
Ah.
And he is one of those people. So a really perfect guest. She was doing one thing and on a radio show, to be exact, and she was fired from that. And so later on, she went into hypnotism. And I think it's a wonderful story. So it's really we try and support a nonprofit every month.
Ah, okay.
So that's important to us. That's very much the core of who we are, is we believe that serving others and helping others in need is the way to live. It takes your mind off yourself, and that's really the real reason why we're on this earth, is to
There you
serve
go.
other
And
people.
other people.
And
There's yeah. There's a great takeaway for sure, for sure.
yeah,
So you've got a whole laundry list of things that you've done and places you would still want to go to. And the success that you have now is, pretty cool. I don't want to say you're satisfied, but you're certainly moving along that trajectory of doing more, helping more people, and making a couple of dollars at the same time. That's not such a bad thing either. So so from beginnings, whether in school in South Africa and whatever the environment was there, to today, would you think you got here today because of all the hard work and things that you've done day after day to make that happen? Or was it maybe a little bit of luck?
I don't believe in luck. Oh gosh, sorry. I do. We're gonna have to edit this out. I just want to go get my sister's puppy. Who's
Oh, go ahead,
barking
go ahead,
first.
go ahead, go ahead.
You need to stop it. You're gonna have to just be patient. Okay? You're gonna have to just be patient with me. All right. And then I'll take you out. Okay. Okay, just be patient. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's okay. Wait, now, let's keep going. So, who is our new guest here on the show?
Right, so this is my sister's baby. Anarchy. Anarchy is about 2 months old, 3 months old. I'm not too sure. But he's gonna just join us for the last little bit. But yes,
Okay,
so
good.
what were we saying? You asked me a very good question. Oh, I don't believe in luck. And the reason why I don't believe in luck is I really do believe everything happens for a reason.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that there's any decision that I made that was a regret, meaning, even though I was in aviation 13 years of my life and had to lose my job to become finally a business owner, which is where I'm supposed to be, I don't think it was the wrong decision, because during that time in aviation, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I grew. I learned about myself. I learned what I didn't like and what I liked. So, yeah, it was never a mistake. So I don't think there's anything called luck. I just think everything happens for a reason.
Reason
And
and
so,
Yep. Yep.
Where I am today
And
because of
there you go. And where you'll be tomorrow will be whatever happens from there. And we
yeah,
always say too is that I think a great attitude is, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Sometimes you don't realize it at the time, but it all
mm,
comes in the end. So
right.
there you go. So this has been great, Shireen. I really appreciate our time together. So everyone's out there, if you know someone who is at least as fascinating as Shireen, to me, I could talk to her all day. But if you know somebody who we should have on the show, let me know and we'll get them on the show and do some great conversations. And just remember, whether it's your business, your community organization, or just even your family, it's money that make those gears keep turning. Make sure your money is working the most efficient and important way possible. So thanks for being here, Sharina.
Thank you for having me.